Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Tornado Talk. We're here every Monday night at Dugan's Pub, 29 West French Broad Street in Brevard, North Carolina. Got an exciting show on tap for you tonight. We're going to talk some cycling. Student athletes Hannah Rensman and Dalton Collins, as well as coaches Brad Purley and Cypress Gorey from the Brevard College cycling program. We'll also check in with head football coach Bill Kyatt. And we'll talk to a couple men's tennis student athletes, Tyler Frazee and Andrew Ingram. Want to thank our sponsors, Arby's, Zaxby's, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingalls, Mission Sports Medicine, Comporium, Pepsi, and Dugan's Pub. Do want to update you since we saw you last here at Dugan's Pub. We did not have a show last week. It was spring break for Brevard College. And a lot has happened since we saw you last. Going on right now today, the men's golf team is at the J. Ralph Hargett Invitational in Monroe, North Carolina, hosted by Wingate University. Austin Fisher is tied for first place after a 69 in the first round, 3 under par. So we'll keep an eye on that as Austin Fisher off to a hot start again in Monroe, North Carolina for men's golf. Baseball is in action today, finishing up a 3-game series against Maryville. They lost a heartbreaker yesterday, 3-2, to start that series. And earlier last week, baseball with a 3-2 win over Emory and Henry. Michael Merriman with the win, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 run allowed, and 7 strikeouts. Bruce Bowers with the save, 2 innings pitched, no earned runs allowed, and 2 strikeouts. Matthew Kelly with a 2 RBI double, and Holden Lanier with a game-winning RBI single as baseball last week defeated Emory and Henry. Later this week, Brevard will take on Roger Williams in a invitational down in Lexington, South Carolina. That's on Wednesday. And then home this weekend, Brevard College baseball, a 3-game series versus USA South foe Huntington, currently scheduled for Friday at 3 p.m., Saturday at 3 p.m., and Sunday at noon. We'll be keeping an eye on the forecast as well, just in case anything changes with that 3-game series in baseball. Now, softball last week split a USA South Conference doubleheader versus North Carolina Wesleyan, and also split a doubleheader against Methodist. 2 great pitching performances we witnessed at Ives Lamel Field. First, in the 3-2 win over North Carolina Wesleyan, freshman Allie Grace Hartman with a complete game win, 7 innings pitched, 2 runs, 7 hits, and no walks in her collegiate debut. And then transfer Michaela McCoy in a 5-1 win over Methodist, pitched 7 complete innings, 1 run, 5 hits, 3 strikeouts in her Brevard College debut. So great start to USA South Conference play last week for the softball team. And then the softball team traveled to Tucson, Arizona, where they played 8 games in 5 days. Wins over North Central, a school out of Minnesota, 11-3 and 12-0. In the 11-3 win over North Central, Savannah Jones with a great pitching performance during her first collegiate win. And then in the 12-0 win over North Central, 8 extra base hits for the Tornadoes. Emily White, 3 for 4, 2 triples and a double. And then a 5-4 win over Waldorf in extra innings, also in Tucson. And then the Tornadoes traveled back this past weekend and are back on campus and getting ready for a doubleheader tomorrow against USA South opponent Berea. The doubleheader starts at 2 o'clock if you want to head on over to Ives Lamel Field. And then this weekend, more softball action. Friday, doubleheader versus Shenandoah. That begins at 2 p.m. Friday at Ives Lamel Field. And then the Tornadoes will hit the road, a doubleheader at USA South Conference foe Averett, beginning at 1 p.m. Men's lacrosse had a couple games over the break. They lost 15-11 to Pfeiffer. Jackson McCaig, 5 goals. Hewitt Farr, 1 goal, 3 assists. Also lost to a very tough Ohio Northern team, 15-8. Jackson McCaig, 4 goals, 2 assists in that one. Peyton Mooney tied a career high with 22 saves, the third most saves in Brevard College history. Next up, Saturday, 2 p.m., Brevard men's lacrosse is at Methodist. Women's lacrosse lost 16-8 to Davis and Elkins. Freshman Hannah Scarf led the way offensively for the Tornadoes, scoring 3 goals. And then a 16-4 loss to Pfeiffer. Casey Collins, goalkeeper for the Tornadoes, with 8 saves in that one. And then a 10-5 win over Salem. That was yesterday. Jessica Gunter and Hunter Denny each with hat tricks. And next up for the Tornadoes, women's lacrosse road trips to LaGrange and Huntington this weekend. Men's tennis, losses to Pfeiffer and Covenant. The Covenant match happened in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Tom Mittering pushed his impressive singles win streak up to 14 matches. And women's tennis, a 6-3 win over Pfeiffer on the road. This was back on Saturday, March the 3rd, led by the #1 doubles team of Samantha Seppi and Kelsey Kushner, who won in both singles and doubles. Next up for men's and women's tennis, if you want to head on out to the Brevard College campus, to McCoy Tennis Complex, 1 p.m. Thursday, men's and women's tennis versus Spartanburg Methodist. Track and field will begin their season this weekend in Hickory, North Carolina, an event that runs Friday and Saturday. And climbing is preparing for the Appalachian Regional Championship for USA Climbing. That's on Saturday, March the 30th. So that brings us to cycling, and looking forward to having our first 2 guests on the show. Great to talk to a couple of the cycling student athletes now. Looking forward to these 2 guests. Dalton Collins and Hannah Arensman. Good to have you guys on the show.
Thanks.
Hannah, good to see you again. Well, it's great to have you 2 on the show as we are underway now with the road portion of the season. You know, you guys got started this past weekend in Greenville, South Carolina with an event. Let's start with that. How did the road season opener go for you 2?
It was a fun weekend just to start back, get the legs back into it, get back into the peloton. It's always interesting going from cyclocross to road, where in cyclocross you're only with the group for probably a minute out of the whole race, whereas road you're with the group for the whole time. So it's different getting back into the peloton and navigating that again and getting really close to other riders and still going fast and just, like, I don't know, getting your nerves calmed and moving about. So it was good. I really enjoyed the smaller field and opportunities just to do some different sprint tactics.
Now, Dalton, you participated on the cyclocross portion of the season.
Yeah.
You know, you made the trip along with Hannah to the national championships. Congratulations on that. How was the training different, you know, once you wrap up the cyclocross season and then look forward to road? What does that look like for you guys?
Well, kind of like cyclocross, since it's a shorter event, we work on like higher intensity, shorter efforts, while road is like more of a longer endurance event. So working up to cyclocross nationals, we did like shorter sprints and stuff like that, and now we're working on like the longer couple hour rides, like 4 hour rides mostly, just to like build that base endurance.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Now, Hannah, I do want to officially congratulate you because we haven't had you on the show since yourself, Tyler Clark, and Tyler Orschel won the Team Relay National Championship at the USA Cycling Cyclocross National Championships. That was back in December in Louisville. A wild event. You know, you ran 2 laps in that event to
Literally ran.
literally ran at times. And, you know, we had the fortune of, you know, getting to see that video, and it went viral a little bit in being able to kind of break down that that telecast of that race. But if you can go back in the memory bank just a little bit, just a couple months, and kind of talk the listeners through that day and how that went for you, that race.
Yeah, it was. Well, it's always a team effort in that race, and it's always even if you're not the one racing, the whole team's always out there running the entire course with you. So we had, first of all, an incredible cheer squad with the rest of our teammates. They segmented different portions of the course so they could run alongside us as we were doing that section of the course, and they'd kind of tag off, and the next person would run beside us. It was so encouraging. So we had that going for us. And then I think it was Tyler Clark went off first.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Okay, yeah. And he got a huge gap for me. So going into the first lap, my first lap, I had the course wide open, and I just try to keep it 90%. It's kind of hard to hold back at all in a race, but was trying to hold back just a little bit so I could have enough for the last time I would go. So yeah, just running as much as I could for most of the course and not trying to ride too much because the mud was so thick that if you try to ride, you just end up putting this incredible amount of mud in your gears, on your wheels, and then you'd have to put that on your shoulder. So instead of trying to ride too much and get all that mud on there and add extra weight, I was running a lot more and then just trying to stay calm. As my first lap, a Marion rider and I think Fort Lewis got close. I let them go by, let them have their space, and they ended up messing up and crashing, which they're okay. But that allowed me to get back in front, and then they weren't able to get back up or get back to me because they were just trying to get their stuff sorted out. So that was the first lap that I did. Then tagged off for Tyler Orsel, and he put in a huge dig. Absolutely just obliterated everybody. It was incredible. And then I got on for my next lap, and it was all I could do to jog-ish trot. And the team was just yelling at me the whole time, and I knew that a couple of the teams had saved a guy for the last person to go, so I had some guys coming up behind me, but because that huge gap that Tyler Worshel opened, I had room to breathe, and I was able to get up that final hill and looked back, and there was nobody. And I knew at that point that there was no way they were going to catch me. I just buried my head on the pavement section going into the last little turn, and then got over the barriers, got on the finish straight, and I looked back, and there was nobody, and I was like, I can't believe it. We actually did it.
Yep, and just the expression on you guys' face and just the joy, we could see it on that video that, you guys were feeling when you crossed the finish line. Congratulations again on a national championship. Not too many people can say they're national champs, and you guys earned it. Now, Dalton, I saw you nodding when Hannah was describing, sort of the team effort here beyond just the three who are racing, but you guys, trying to help them along as much as you can with moral support, with whatever instructions you can maybe shout to them. From your perspective, what was that like?
I remember being on the hill, being on the last hill, and I just remember racing it from the day before. It was just like a mud fest, just mud everywhere. And then just running along Tyler Clark, just yelling, just motivating him and all that stuff. And then doing the same for Orshel and then Hannah. And on her last lap, we were giving her splits, and we were timing everybody. And it was this is amazing to watch. It's just the efforts they were putting in. It was incredible. It was something else.
Nice. Well, it's one of the things I've really observed about you guys, and also kind of watching on the broadcast some of the other teams. I mean, the Brevard College cycling program, you guys are truly a team. You're looking out for each other, got a lot of benefits of, truly being a team sport here. So congrats to the entire team for, helping those folks get the gold medal. Now, my question about cyclocross, especially in conditions like that, is this, and I'd like to hear from both of you on this. How does a rider know when to get off the bike and start carrying the bike, shouldering the bike, versus continuing to pedal on through that mud. You know, it seems like there's got to be a certain time where you're like, okay, enough's enough. I'm throwing the bike on my shoulder. I'm trying to run this thing. When is that decision, and how do you make that decision?
Well, for me, this is my first year racing cyclocross, so I never raced it before. So I just kind of listened to what people are yelling on the side and what other riders were doing. So that was kind of like my tactic in a sense.
Right. Now, Hannah, you've been around the cyclocross block a little longer. How do you make that determination?
So in pre-ride, if I can't ride something smoothly for over 50% of the time, I'm not going to try to ride it in the actual race. I'll run it. So it's often determined on the pre-ride and how efficiently I can ride things. Now, some things they dry out as the course goes along, and if you see your competitors start to ride things that you were initially running, it might be worth the gamble if it's really going to save you that much time. But it's honestly comes down to, if I mess up on this section and have to slow down and even come to a stop and get off my bike, is that worth riding or trying to ride? Is the seconds that I'm going to gain from riding outweigh the potential to stop? So I guess that's how I go about it. But typically what my sister always tells me, she's like, you're always faster on your feet anyway, so, you know, run it. Just run it. If you have the option, always go for the running.
Yeah. I would like to touch on that because I haven't had the chance to ask you about it, Hannah. Your sister, Allison, also competed here, had a decorated career. Both of you in different years made trips to the World Championships. Talk about, her mentorship to you and kind of how she's helped pave the way for your success.
Oh, yeah. So I remember it started back when I was like 14 and she was 18, and she and my coach would drag me out on rides and drop me like 3 or 4 times, and I would catch back up to them, and as soon as I'd catch back up, they just like start going again, and I'd hang on for as long as I could and then get dropped again. And that was the first part of my mentorship with her. But I think really with Allison, I know she's always going to be super honest with me, and if I need to do something, she's going to tell me straight up, and I've always appreciated that about her. Just like my biggest friend, my biggest fan in cycling, so super encouraging, and always has some super good advice, just because she's gone through the school of hard knocks with trying to figure out women's cycling and be a spokesperson for that. She's really helped. I feel she's helped grow the women's side of cycling, so when I got into it, it was easier for me. So that was really cool.
Excellent. Now, Dawn, you're a freshman from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
We're psyched to have you here at Brevard College. While Hannah had her older sister, were there mentors as you were coming up as far as, getting you on the right track cycling?
I'm part of the part of Wisconsin I live in. There's not really a lot of cycling, and if there is like cycling, it's like normally like the older guys. It's like the guys who used to race back in their 20s, and that was about 50 years ago, and stuff like that. So I joined a team 3 hours south of where I'm from, and then I raced with them, got mentorship through them, and then found an old pro rider who lives I think an hour and a half south of me, and then we started riding during the summers. And I just got off his fitness. It was just really cool and all that stuff.
Nice. And now that you're here in Brevard, North Carolina, the scene's much bigger, here as far as the cycling, in many ways an epicenter for cycling, especially on the mountain bike side of things, with all the trails here in Pisgah National Forest. How do you like it so far?
It's amazing. It's really nice being able to ride all year round. Just the other week, it was -60 at my house. And
wow.
Then it hasn't even gone close to that here.
Yeah, no doubt. A nice, mild winter here comparatively.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to congratulate you both also on being named USA Cycling Collegiate All-Stars, academic All-Stars, that is.
Thank you.
And for folks who might not be aware what this is, it's a combination of you have to compete in a national championship, and you also have to have a superior grade point average. And USA Cycling recognizes these top student athletes, and both of you qualified. Now, Hannah, I know you're a Willie major, correct?
That is true.
Because last time we talked, you were about to head off on, one of those expeditions, for a couple weeks.
I think I had just gotten back,
you had just gotten back. Yeah, so for those who might not be aware, wilderness leadership and experiential education at Brevard College, a top-notch program. So congratulations on those studies and your success there. Dawn, what is your major, if you found one yet?
No, I'm an undeclared.
Undeclared.
Yeah.
He's going to be Willie.
Your eye in the Willie program? Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to convert all the cyclists to Willie.
Well, it's a great fit for, especially folks who love mountain biking, no doubt. Well, I want to congratulate you both on, that great success at the Cyclocross National Championships and also being USA Cycling Collegiate Academic All-Stars, and best of luck through the road racing season, because like we talked about at the start of the show, it's a complete different shift of both mindset and also, as far as how you got to condition your body too. So great to catch up with each of you. Congratulations, continued success through the spring, and now we're going to talk to your coaches.
All right, cool.
Thanks,
you.
guys. All right, Hannah Rensman and Dalton Collins, two of those cycling student athletes. Great to catch up with them as we review that Cyclocross National Championships that took place back in December in Louisville, as well as previewing the road cycling schedule a little bit. And now we're going to go even deeper with Brevard College Cycling with these two coaches as they get settled in. All right, joined now by head coach Brad Purley and assistant coach Cypress Gorey. Great to have you guys back on the show.
Thanks for having us.
It's been a little while since we did the old tornado talk, so I do want to go chronologically and do some review of where we're at now compared to where we were when we last talked. And I want to start, if you can think back to October, Missoula, Montana, the Mountain Bike National Championships. Now, we had all the riders who competed in that national championship on a special edition of Tornado Talk at the Myers Dining Hall when they got back. You two were still driving back from Montana, which is an incredible drive, with the bikes in tow. If you can sum it up, that national championship, how meaningful it was for this particular team to compete there, and also the success you all had at the Mountain Bike National Championships.
Yeah, it was definitely a great week, because that's really what it ends up being for us. Is we're out there for just about a full 7 days. So unfortunately, once again, it fell on fall break too, so the students only missed 1 day of class, which is really nice. But yeah, I mean, there are so many things, as you've heard, that go into that. I mean, even just listening to the two students here talk, you can tell just simply analyzing and getting ready for one race there's so many little pieces in their minds they're preparing for. So to have really 5 different events, male and female, all racing in that one weekend in Montana, so far away from home, with so much travel, weather, you name it, all that stuff. We were really, really happy and proud of the way things went. There were some phenomenal standout results that were just incredible. There were, just like always, some things that we had some bad luck too, and the students handled it. We couldn't ask for anything better, honestly. And yeah, I mean, we think that year after year, that every one of these we're able to go to and execute like we did this year again. It really kind of adds and continues to build on the reputation and just the program in general and kind of everything the team stands for. And we're out there, Mountain Bike Nationals, I think we took like 11 students
That's
total.
right.
So, but as well as we do that those 11 students are representing the the 30 on our team as a whole, and also the school here, the town, a lot of different things, North Carolina for that matter. So yeah, we're really, really proud of the way things went. And as far as one kind of my takeaway from leaving that event and seeing the students and their reactions, we have a pretty young team this year, and you could see immediately after that week that they are very much ready to prepare for next year too. So we're not sure exactly where we'll be racing coming this fall for mountain bike nationals, but that is a huge kind of target on our calendars coming up for the next year. So yeah, we're really proud of how they raced and handled themselves.
Great. In Cypress, you've experienced a number of national championships, first as a student athlete here at Brevard, and now as a coach. Similar feelings as far as your perspective, a success in Missoula, Montana?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we came in, and heading into mountain bike nationals especially always seems to be a pretty tough time of year for us to make the choices of who's going to go, because we've always had a pretty strong team, and this year was no exception. And this time around it was a lot of freshmen on the team that we were having to decide who was going to make the cut to go, which is a tough decision for us sometimes. That's a good problem to have, and we went and had a great group, and I think they came away with a little more grit and resolve that they're going to be able to carry on into further years with just having a little bit more experience and being at that highest level of the collegiate scene. It's just awesome as a first-year student to be able to experience that and move forward.
Well, as a team, finished fourth in the Division I Team Omnium, the 10th time in the last 11th years that Brevard's finished in the top four, including 6 national championships. And the big result of the weekend, Carson Beckett, Hannah Rensman, and Tyler Orschel placed second in the team relay. Yeah, so and all sorts of other big results, including Orschel finishing second in the men's Omnium. So big weekend there, no doubt. So I do want to just skip ahead to the next discipline, cyclocross, where there was, a lot of success this season as well, but a completely different scene for that national championship in Louisville, Kentucky, where it was muddy and wild and slippery and all those things. We talked to Hannah about that national championship in the team relay. Would like to hear from each of you. First, let's start there on that team relay, just how special that threesome was, as well as the rest of the team cheering them on to capture that national championship.
Yeah, we were just talking about that actually a few minutes ago, kind of working backwards a little bit in recent memory from the previous cross nationals. And I don't think a ton of people have sort of picked up on it, but that's actually the 3rd consecutive team relay national title our team has won. So we've gone back 2 times in a row as the defending team. In every one of those situations, we had a different mixture of students too, which is really unique. The other side of that too is that every other varsity program out there is, every other team on the podium especially, are competing with a full 4 student team relay roster. And kind of like Cypress had mentioned about mountain bike nationals, once again during cross, there are a lot of difficult decisions we have to make as the coaches for selection on that, and so many different things go into that equation based on the weather, based on the courses, you name it, really a lot of different things. But yeah, to see that was a 2nd year in a row that we have won that event with just 3 riders, and honestly, of course, a huge amount of the responsibility and honestly pressure of that falls on Hannah's shoulders because she's the female on our team doing 2 laps.
Yep.
That's hopefully, and we believe that will be the final time we have to do that, because we realize that's a really difficult situation to put any student in having to do one of those laps. That's a lot of pressure already. To have them do their 1 lap and finish and have about 5 minutes to try to recover and catch their breath and pick themselves up off the ground and do another one is something kind of different all entirely, especially when, in Hannah's situation, that's the 2nd year in a row. She's gone out for her 4th final leg of our team relay in the lead of a national championship race. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. So yeah, but as a whole in the team, really, that event, there are only 3 of them out there pedaling on that particular 20-minute period. You mentioned we could watch it in the replay in live too after the fact, but it's crazy to see how many different aspects. I mean, we had a bunch of students there racing, and every single one of them played a huge part in that team relay win as well, whether it was preparation, whether it was running around the pits trying to clean bikes in between laps, mid-lap even because of how muddy it was. So there are a lot of different things that go into it. And simply just Hannah mentioned just the cheering too. I mean, there's a lot of just out there was a lot of grinding and just going very slow and with your heart rate in the 190s, trying to stay focused and trying to go as hard as you possibly can and like carry your team on your back, you know. So there's a lot of that stuff, but I think that's speaking for myself, and Cypress I'm sure has a similar thought, but that's my favorite event, like just team relay in general, just because you can see that's when the team, no matter who is there, they really can like quickly jump together, and like that's a team goal. And I feel like that's a huge part of the reason why we've had success in that event, is because that's really embodies what they're there for and what they came to school here for in a lot of ways too. But that makes our job a lot easier in that regard, because we don't have to motivate them to do that. You know, we try to facilitate and take care of a lot of other things, of course, but that drive and that hunger, to a certain degree, you can't really teach that. And that's, we just try to keep attracting the students and the mentality that they share that mentality, you know, and the similar mindset. And we think that we've had so many great students that have had that same approach. You know, Cypress is a great example. When he graduated, when he was an upperclassman here, it's really easy for a new student coming in to see that as the culture of the team, and they adopt it very quickly. And then a couple years down the road, super quickly, suddenly they're upperclassmen and they can do the same thing for incoming too. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of excitement, like in general, you know, and especially with it, we are always one of the teams that has a smaller roster at these events, just by the nature of it. We're a smaller program than a lot of these big varsity programs are. So every time we're able to get a result and keep riding consistently and just keep being there, you can't win every race, you can't win anywhere close to every race, but being in the running and seeing them lay it on the line like that consistently really establishes the team, I think, is a rock in the bike racing, collegiate bike racing, you know, and we love it. It's cool to watch.
It's great. It really speaks to the culture of the program and the team. And I would like to go kind of behind the curtain a little bit in Cypress. Perhaps you can answer this. So when Hannah Rensman gets done with her second leg, and then she's got a rest period before the fourth leg, a unique situation there, you know, where she's got to recover quickly and then get back out there. How involved are you all as a coaching staff working with her, maybe instructing her on, you know, how to approach that fourth leg? Or is it just like leave her alone and, you know, let her get her legs back as quickly as possible? Cypress, you care to comment on that?
Yeah, we're certainly involved because it's really hard to be the athlete in that position and to go out and have to do 2 laps. I mean, as Brad said, 1 lap alone is, you know, incredibly difficult. That's hard to pace for in its own, because it's long enough of a lap where you can't just go all out and have it done. You know, you have to pace your effort. So if you can still go out too hard just in 1 lap and then kind of explode and not be able to finish strong. So Hannah's in a position where she has to do that not only once, but then keep enough in reserves to be able to go out and do a full second lap, which is incredibly difficult. So once she finishes, she's kind of just spinning around and, you know, trying to just recover from that effort as much as she can. And, you know, we've really talked to her before the whole event more than in the middle. But on our side, one of us was also in the pit because we needed to get her bike clean and get her bike changed. So that was another element that is also added in cyclocross that you don't really have in the other disciplines. So there's just so much going on during that event. I mean, it's the coolest event, and I think, you know, the most exciting, but on our side it's kind of the most stressful too, because there's so much going in, there's so much emotion and stress, and just all being kind of compiled into 20 minutes. So it's exciting, but it's also a very hard time for the riders too. So she's grown a lot. To see her do those events and be able to have consistent lap times for 2 laps in 1 race is incredible.
And that's in that situation, like in that particular day, Cypress happened to be the one that was in the pit with a couple students to help. So actually, it's like clockwork. It's a lot of planning, and like a lot of credit goes to the students too for helping both, because Cypress and I couldn't do that by ourselves. I mean, but the second she finished that lap, you know, her bike is destroyed basically. And we had one of our students had a fresh bike identical to the one she was on, and she hopped on immediately and I was at the start transition area. She got it set up on like a stationary trainer on that bike. So she could keep spinning. Cypress was in the pit. He washed the race bike. So by the time she was ready to go out in her other lap, that bike was fresh, clean at the start line, and it was just she hopped off the rollers.
Yep.
Yeah, as fresh as she can be. And we had a couple. The student that had Tyler had done the first lap. So when we were in that transition area, I had him come over to talk to Hannah a little bit because about the course and see, one person's going to notice something a little bit different. Cypress is in the pit with a phone, obviously, and he's communicating with me what he's seeing a little bit of. So because it seems like it goes by really quickly, but like Cypress said, it's actually a longer effort than watching the video. It takes a while to watch the whole thing. And the course is changing every single lap, and Cypress is going to see things and notice things. If we're looking at the same exact thing, we're going to see two different things, so we try to bounce ideas off each other. And I remember him like on the phone with me, like, we got to tell students a couple different things, and that's kind of how we try to attack from all different angles. And the students that have already gone out and done laps, they're going to have valuable information coming back if they can talk at least to the students that are about to go out for a different lap, because it's every little thing in that counts, because it's as simple as really you misplace or take a wrong line into a corner and you fall into a rut, you flat, you drop your chain, whatever, and that could be the race. So there's a lot of little things we try not to overlook, but the credit goes to the students for sure.
Now, the next highlight I want to touch on, Tyler Orschel, one of those national champion team relay members, then competed in the World Championships in January, and fourth straight year that a Brevard College cyclist has qualified for the UCI Cyclocross World Championships. How big is that for the program to have someone like Tyler Orschel represent his country, Canada, but also Brevard College, at the Worlds?
Yeah, that's huge. It's a totally different level of exposure than you get from a collegiate race or even winning the team relay at collegiate nationals, just because the amount of people that see that is, it's on a world scale. It's the World Championships. There's every event that's competing in cyclocross is sending a group of their most talented riders to that stage. So then when you look across and see, there may not be Brevard College next to his name and the results there, but he's still there representing the school, the town. This is where he lives and trains, and that's, a big part of why we've been able to send athletes year after year to that stage in both cyclocross and in mountain. Just, it's a great recruiting tool for us to be able to say, hey, there's been year after year, there's been great cyclists produced from this area that are on this program that, we believe that's a big part of why they're there.
Yep, and I'm sure he's interacting with the other competitors there, and they're asking him, hey, where do you go to school back there in North Carolina?
And I'll add too that along the same lines, it helps a lot. Like Cypress is a great example. Like, and now obviously he's here in a coaching role, but he's one of those athletes that have been to the World Championships. And I think that's another one of those things that goes a really long way, because it's a lot about who you know, but it's also about how you can translate, and people see like a direct benefit, and like that knowledge helps a lot for sure. And like they're always recruiting for us too. Our students are, is what I mean. That helps a lot. Yeah.
Last two things. One, I want to congratulate you all as leaders for delivering or helping deliver. Really, the student athletes, did the work to earn their place on this list. But 7 Brevard College cycling student athletes named USA Cycling Academic All-Stars: Hannah Rensman, Carson Beckett, Tyler Clark, Dalton Collins, Hannah Dixon, Tyler Orschel, and Nicole Rusden. I'm sure you guys are very proud of that work, both in the classroom and they had to make a national championship to get on that list, so that's big. Last thing, the road season. We're getting underway. The national championships in April, or actually the first week of May in Augusta, Georgia. You guys got started this past weekend in a bit of an abbreviated event down in Greenville, South Carolina, but there's plenty more to come. I asked the cyclists this, but I'd like to hear from each of you. That transition from mountain to cyclocross to now road cycling, how's that going for the team?
It's going really well, honestly. It's there are always going to be ups and downs throughout the year, but especially transitioning through different disciplines. It's you kind of break it. We try to reset after each discipline finishes with whatever nationals occurs, and then we have sometimes it's a week break, sometimes it's a month and a half or so. But yeah, as far as a preparation, looking ahead to immediate future to Road Nationals in Augusta, we're really excited about it. I mean, I think we're both confident that we're going to be bringing a stronger and larger road team to Road Nationals than we have in a very long time. Definitely at the Division I level, like, we haven't had a program that's been able to field this many road riders for nationals. So that's really exciting because, it's just impossible to have a full squad when a team of our size really for every national event. In fact, I don't think we've ever filled out the maximum start spots like a lot of other programs do, in all honesty. But the riders we're bringing, we have a lot of faith in. We're really, really excited about it. We think that the courses down there suit our team really well. It's not at altitude, which is really helpful. It's always tough to travel from, like, basically, for all intents and purposes, we kind of live at sea level here, at least compared to the super high elevations out west. So I think a lot of good things about that, and we have a lot of, just like always, but really motivated and excited students, and a lot of fresh faces too. Like Cypress had mentioned, we have a lot of young kids that are ready to go and ready to learn, probably more importantly than anything, especially for the road racing side of things. So yeah, we're really excited about it. We'll be going there with some really specific goals in mind. But we're hoping this is sort of the kickoff point to really progress, really start a pretty serious progression on the road side of things in the next few years for us. But yeah, it's hard to keep the team when you're racing all year. Keep them healthy, keep them excitement and motivation is never really an issue, but just it's a numbers thing a lot of times too. But yeah, we have the good quality for road this year for sure.
Great. Well, we'll be following every step of the way as you guys head into the road season. Congratulations on the year so far the program as a whole is having, and good luck heading into the spring in the road racing season. Thanks for coming on the show, coaches. Always great to see you here. Head coach Brad Purley and Cypress Gorey of Brevard College Cycling. Great to catch up with them after all sorts of success throughout the 2018-2019 season across all three disciplines. And great to have our next guest with us. Head football coach Bill Kyatt. Coach, great to have you back here on the show.
Great to see you again, Phil.
Well, we've had a number of your assistant coaches during the offseason here join us on Tornado Talk, and it's been great to get to know each of them a little better. And I'd like to start there, with the coaching staff. There's been some changes this year, a couple promotions and a couple additions. As a whole, tell us about your coaching staff heading into the 2019 season.
Okay, well, first of all, I would like to thank Coach Eric Lambert for a phenomenal job he did coaching the defensive line, and just look at what he did with Axel Easter, leading him to a record-setting season. Coach Gavea, our defensive coordinator, who really set the foundation for us. It's a defense that will be built on strength, discipline, effort, and accountability. And Coach Dynamite Kuhn, our Director of Football Operations and Recruiting Coordinator, who helped build a roster that started at 17 when we took over in the spring of 17 to well over 100 players. And, he always said we may be listed on paper as a Division III program, but we're going to run it like a Division I program, and he always had the highest level of professionalism. So I definitely want to thank those three for their service and wish them the best of luck in the future. And as far as what we have going now, I'm extremely thrilled with what we have, and I'm not sure if you would like to go through these guys one by one, but we can certainly do that. But overall, the things that were accomplished on the football field over the past season, they will be duly rewarded and have been for these guys that are just incredible leaders of men. And I think you'll be thrilled to see what takes place out on the field in 2019.
Well, let's talk about a couple of the things that have changed. Luke Jakes is promoted to defensive coordinator, and he'll also oversee the cornerbacks. Luke's in his third year. We talked to Coach here a couple weeks ago. I know he's excited, get in this new role. Talk a little bit about him and his development as a coach.
Okay, so there are certain moments in time that as an individual you will never forget. And it could be a 30-second span of time, could be 5 minutes, could be longer. And it's a situation where you can remember the smell of the grass, the sound of the cars going by, the scenery, the clothes that you're wearing. And in the fall of 2016, I was coaching at Scottsdale Community College. And Coach Jakes came up to me about 6:30 in the morning. The sun was bright there in Arizona, and I remember even having to turn to have the conversation where the sun wasn't in my eyes and I had to squint. And he let me know that if I were ever to go somewhere, he would love to go with me. And I can remember the words coming right out of his mouth, and I thought to me, wow, that means that he must be monitoring the things that I'm doing and must think very highly of me to take the time to say that. Never forgot it. Always kept in touch, and it wasn't a short time later that I ended up with this job. So that's why he initially was brought here. But the things that he really brings to the table for us here at Brevard, okay, for me, it's loyalty. That goes a long way with me in the coaching profession, something that I learned first from my dad, watching some of the jobs that he ended up turning down out of loyalty to the head coach maybe that he was with. And then I learned it for myself working with Dennis Green. And when Denny got fired at Arizona, I also got fired. And I thought, wait a minute, I thought my work product was stellar and, did everything that was asked of me and all that. And so I asked the general manager at the time, why me? Because they hadn't even brought in the new head coach to do any interviews. He said, well, you're a Denny Green guy. And that actually meant a lot to me because I had only known him for 3 years. I hadn't played for him. I didn't know him for a long time, but that meant that everyone else must have seen my loyalty to my head coach. So that's the first thing about Coach Jakes. And then secondly, I really love, we call it outside the box thinking, but truly it's not. But to those that are in the coaching profession in football specifically, it seems like things are always done the same way, time and time again. And then you ask, well, why do we do that? And the answer is always like, well, that's the way we've always done it. And that's not really learning anything. You're not really understanding the point. But he'll do things that what look like to football coaches are outside the box, but to me, I see them as common sense coaching. And he just really makes so much sense to the guys that he's coaching to get them to understand what it is they need to do to accomplish the task at hand. And then, finally, the great thing about him that I noticed at Scottsdale, and which is why I hired him in the first place, and nothing has changed since he's gotten here, is that his players will play for him. Like his players truly believe in his style of coaching, how he treats them, the lengths that he'll go for his players. So whether that is on a smaller scale as the corners or what he did with his elements of the special teams, and now it's broadened into the full defense. So April 1st will be our first opportunity to see, how these guys respond. You saw a little tidbit against Allen, that he had worked that game as the defensive coordinator, but you'll really get to see it in full here shortly.
Now, the next assistant coach I'd like to mention, we haven't had the chance to have him on the show because he's got so many responsibilities, both here at Brevard College and also in the service. Assistant coach Randy Finley has been elevated to linebackers coach and full-time assistant here at Brevard College. Coach Gunny, as we know him as. Tell us even more. The listeners who might not know exactly just how special of an individual Coach Randy Finley is.
Right. Well, first of all, he learned from the best because he was with Coach Gavea last year as the assistant linebacker coach. So a great resource and was taught very well. And then, as you mentioned, Coach Gunny, during his promotion that took place last fall, if you did listen to the speakers during that time, they had mentioned how in different areas within the military, when he had different posts that he was assigned to, he was promoted faster than any other person that had ever been in that position.
Mm.
So not surprising that after 1 year, he gets promoted here. It's just the way he functions in life. And I mean, I understand it's pretty obvious to think this because of his military background, but the attention to detail, he understood. I mean, because he has said this to me, in the military, you can't make a mistake because lives are at stake. So for us on the football field, you can't make a mistake because it will lead to a touchdown. You can't make a mistake because you'll give up a first down. So he can get that message across to the players about just how important it is to do what is asked of you.
Mm.
And, you know, you hear all the buzzwords and sayings that are out there, you know, just do your job and things like that. But, I mean, he can really speak to it because of the life that he has lived serving the military. And I just love that he deals with facts. So, hey, coach, you said do this, so I did this. And, hey, we need this player to do this, so, hey, you need to do this. So it's very clear-cut, his style of coaching. I mean, you don't have to read between any lines. You don't have to try to figure something out. What is he saying? Not certain. What he says is what he means. And then, you know, the discipline that he brings behind it, he'll bring a little military flavor to that. And certainly if you weren't inclined to do it the right way the first time, you'll certainly know from that point forward to do it the right way.
Now, I would like to ask you about our new defensive line coach here at Brevard College, who's returning to Brevard College, Coach Dawson. A later addition, you know, compared to when the initial announcement was made with the staff changes. Tell us even more about Coach Dawson, what he brings to the table.
Okay, so Coach Dawson was an outstanding player at Alabama A&M playing the defensive line, and he is an intimidating man when you look at him. You've seen Coach Lindsey. He's got the height and size of Coach Lindsey and even more. And big booming voice, but really a kind, soft heart. And so the experience that he has as a player on the defensive line is one thing. And then, you know, being able to have a lot in his repertoire to be able to coach these players, because there's all sorts of different players along the defensive line. It's not one player that's all identical. Whether you're an end, tackle, you're inside, you're outside, depending on where you line up, you have to have a different set of skills. And then each player isn't necessarily great at each one of those skills. So you better have something in your arsenal to be able to help these players be great. And so his is very deep, his knowledge of the defensive line. But he honestly cares about his players. So much so that when the job came open, every one of those players that played under him in 2017, so for those that don't know, he was a defensive line coach in 2017, all of those players during their exit interviews with me mentioned that they would love to have him back. So I think that truly tells you what kind of coach he is by the response that he was getting from those players.
Well, great to have Coach Dawson back on the staff. Now, the next coach I'd like you to comment on came from the state of Arizona, James Fitzgerald, recruiting coordinator. He's also going to handle fullbacks and H-backs. I know he's a tireless recruiter, Coach Fitz. Tell us even more about Coach Fitz.
Okay, well, you know, I just really love Coach's background and what he has been able to accomplish. So I think that he spoke about it when he was on your show, about what he was able to do at Douglas High School. Just very low numbers on the football team, a team that hasn't really won many games over its 100 years in existence. I mean, as the story's being told, I'm hearing a lot of similarities to the things that took place at Brevard. And then all of a sudden, he turns the team completely around, and next thing you know, they're in the playoffs, and he did it in a very short period of time. So just understanding what it takes to be great, especially when where you've been hasn't been the best. And so that was really important to me. But the other thing is to get the players to want to play, to come. And I think I mentioned this to you in the past, that what he did while I saw him work at Scottsdale, and we're going around to position coaches that are getting paid and they're full-time guys, and let me see who you have, and the numbers are small. And then you get to Coach Fitzgerald, and all of a sudden we're there for weeks going through his guys. because he will find them. And it doesn't matter where they're playing, and right now he's in California, finding players that you wouldn't believe have no offers. There's no way. You watch the film, okay, this player is definitely being recruited at Division I, Division II school. No, he's not. Okay, well then he must have terrible grades or something. No, his grades are wonderful. Okay, well, wait a minute, he must be a bad human being. Let's research it. No, he's a wonderful guy. So he really has a knack for finding guys and getting them to be interested in this program.
Now the returning coaches, assistant head coach, running backs coach Eric Allen, Andrew Bather, assistant coach, wide receivers, Everett Lindsay, assistant coach, offensive line, and Garrett Krusek, the assistant coach in charge of the quarterbacks, and then 4 student assistants, 4 former players, Caleb Chandler, Bubba Craven, Axel Easter, and Justin Peck. Coach, how excited are you to see those 4 enter the coaching world, who all played under you?
Right, and one thing that is wonderful about this, not that we needed validation about how we're running this program, but I think it does speak volumes to what we are doing, knowing that there are 4 guys that want to be a part of this, 3 of whom will be graduating here shortly and could move on with their lives and just want to be part of the program. And I just think it's a wonderful thing. And what we're doing with those guys in the spring, let them know they're auditioning. Okay, so a lot of times it's difficult for players to make the transition to coaching, especially that first year, because all you want to do is get back in there and play.
Yeah, that's
and
a quick transition.
You just tell the player, hey, move out of the way, I'll do it. And you can't do that. So we've got to find out of these players, because they were all great on their own, and you can go through stats and accolades and everything else. They were phenomenal players. But do they have the communication skills that it takes to get the message to the player of what we need or how to do it? And so, Axel Easter knew how to get sacks and tackles for loss. There's no question about that. But let's see how he does when he's trying to teach it. Well, what I noticed as a head coach and standing back watching practice is I watched him coach guys on how to do that. I also watched him coach offensive players to help them how to stop him from getting. So it was obvious in a hurry about Axel Easter. Then you have Bubba Craven, who has such a love for the game, and he just wants to be a part of it in any way that he can. Now, his stint as a coach may be short-lived because he still has an opportunity to play ball somewhere.
Sure,
after this.
He got selected to the National Bowl, which was a audition of sorts from the playing variety in front of all sorts of scouts and things.
And that's correct. And so he has an opportunity to do some other things, but if nothing comes up, or maybe it does and he comes back, but he definitely wants to be a part of this program because he's just so thankful for everything that it did for him over the last 2 years. Justin Peck, he's what you call just a football player. He just loves the game of football. Again, much like Bubba, just loves to be around it, be around the guys, and it's that atmosphere that really excites him. And, he can do so much with the special teams because he was one of those jack-of-all-trade kind of players. He was all over the field in his career, offense, defense, special teams captain. And he'll be helping out, Coach Jaron Gavea, who I did promote to full-time special teams coordinator. And so he'll be able to do some great things for us. And then Caleb Chandler, who is still a student and will not have graduated come fall, but he did actually help us in a limited role last year. But in that limited role, did some things that had a profound effect on the outcome of our games because of the things that we needed him to do within game day ops, and what he has done for us so far in the recruiting phase in the spring. So as far as work toward coaching, Caleb Chandler has actually done the most. And the other 3 that are still working with school and, they have hour limitations for them, they're just getting morsels. So you give them little projects and see how they perform. Like the project. Love the way it turned out. Let's give them a little bit more. So we don't overload their plate. We're just giving them enough to see, all right, on its own, without anything else, can they handle it? So far, so good. So we'll let you know once we get into spring ball how that goes.
Last thing, Coach, could you tell listeners a little bit about the schedule for spring football and, your goals as far as this spring goes?
Okay, interesting question, because I had just asked my staff today, hey, what are we trying to accomplish this spring? And I just wanted to get their input. Spring practice will begin on the 1st of April. Division III rules say that we cannot have helmet and shoulder pads on. So we will just be running around in shorts and T-shirts. So as far as evaluating some of the things on the football field, you can't, because that element is missing, which is the major element of football. But you can certainly get these guys to understand what it is that we want from them, how to go about doing it. And it'll give an opportunity for some kids that didn't get as much time with our actual offense, defense, and special teams in the fall to be able to showcase their skills and see what it is that they can do, retention and things of that nature. We'll be able to get in the weight room as a full unit. So we're just really excited about getting that team atmosphere back, because right now we can't talk to them about anything outside of academics and things of that nature. But when it comes to football, I mean, I can't even say, hey, did you see Edelman run that route in the Super Bowl? Boy, that was a great route. That's how you need to be running routes. Nope, can't do it. You're talking football. That's working on improving his game. So we have to stay away from so many of those things. So I think that these guys are just really excited about the chance to be out on that field together and do those things. So we're going to go from Monday through Thursday for 3 consecutive weeks. And that'll give us 12 practices. Now, we lost a whole week. An interesting little tidbit for you, but we lost a week of spring ball because in 1 week, preparing for the Allen game, that was a week of practice, and then we had the hurricane come.
Right.
So because of that game got knocked out, I then had to make a decision as a head coach. Do we reschedule the game and burn a week there, or save that week and use it and have 4 weeks in spring? But here in the Division III model with guys playing, we have guys, a lot of them on track. We have guys playing lacrosse. So we're going to have limited numbers anyway. So I thought it was more beneficial to our team to have that game experience. And that's why I used that week in the fall of 2018.
Sounds great, Coach. Well, we'll be looking to spring ball to see how the team continues to develop. It's exciting 2019 on deck, and the schedule's out. Check it out on bctornadoes.com. Start to, block those Saturdays, to see the Tornadoes in action. And, Coach, great to see you as always. Thanks for coming on Tornado Talk today, and we'll continue following Brevard College football.
You got it. Appreciate it. Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Phil.
Coach.
Yep, you got it.
All right, head coach Bill Kyatt. As the Tornadoes football program gears up for spring practice. As we'll shift gears again now, going to talk a little men's tennis. Andrew Ingram and Tyler Frazee.
Yeah.
Good
Nice
to see you
meet
guys.
Good to see you too.
All right, fellas. Well, want to start with this past weekend. Because of some weather, the event you all were scheduled to play in got moved indoors. I'd like to hear from both of you. What's that like to play tennis indoors? Maybe when you're expecting and you're practicing all the time outdoors, is that a shift that you guys have to prepare for?
When driving on the bus, we actually there was changes being made all the time, so we didn't really know what the weather and how everything was happening. So we basically were just getting ready to play on any conditions, terms, and if it was indoors, no wind, no concerns, no nothing, and it came out pretty well. I was proud of our performance. We gave it all on our courts.
Now, is it harder to, spot the ball, and how about actually playing indoors? Is the surfaces are different, right, compared to the hard courts you're used to playing here at the McCoy Tennis Complex or elsewhere? Do you have to kind of change your mindset as far as, the speed goes, or is that something you're able to figure out during warm-ups?
Well, fortunately, we played at a really nice school with really nice indoor courts, and the facility was extremely nice. Nothing bad about it. The lighting was all good, so you could see the ball clearly. The speed of play was just like a hard court, so it wasn't terribly different than outdoor hard court.
Now, Andrew, you're from Belmont, North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
So not too far away
Not
from
too
here.
far, yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your story and how you found Brevard College.
So I toured here back when I was doing all of my campus tours back last spring break, senior spring break, and I talked to a professor because I wanted to go into criminal justice, and I talked to the criminal justice professor, and he said he had a tennis tie on, and I was like, hey, do you play tennis? And he said, no, we have a match. The tennis team has a match today. And I was like, oh, maybe if I have time I can drop by. And
Let me guess, is this Dr. Powers?
yes, sir. Yeah, Dr. Powers was like, yeah, we have a match today. And he said, I can get you to talk to the tennis coach if you'd like. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. And then I talked to Coach Schreiner, and he offered me a spot on the team. And I made my decision right there to come to Brevard College.
And Tyler, same question for you. How did you find Brevard, or did Brevard find you?
Actually, Brevard kind of found me in a way. I'm from Tampa, Florida, so a little bit more distance. I played at Saddlebrook Preparatory School. It's a very big tennis complex and facility academy. And Coach Schreiner emailed me when they were still D2, or it was another coach before. And I saw it, and me and my parents took a vacation up here in Cashers, and we loved the area. And when it was getting closer to the decision time in senior year, I was like, I kind of wanted to go to a smaller schools to be more focused and more determined to do good and have a good spot on a tennis team that was smaller and more like family. And I came up here to visit the one time, and I fell in love with the area, and I love the surroundings and everything like that.
Well, Tyler, I'm from Florida as well. I'm a native of Miami. And I have a feeling that your parents are going to love coming back to visit if they haven't already, to see up here. It's folks from Florida love escaping to the mountains of North Carolina. So I'm glad you guys are both here at Brevard College. I would like to talk to you guys about this. As far as the team goes, tennis is sort of a unique sport to me on the collegiate level, where you guys are really, even though it's an individual sport, you guys are looking out for each other, and it's so much a team sport at the same time. And not just the men's tennis team, but the entire team, men's and women's tennis. I'd like to hear from both of you, and the question is this, what makes the Tornadoes a team? Versus just, a bunch of individuals out there trying to win tennis matches?
For me personally, the team, for me, the bonding has grew between both teams, and just being able to be on the road this past weekend with the men's team, and then this weekend coming up in Berea with the women's team, I think it will get us even more closer with the women's team. And it's a really cool, I never played in like a team kind of thing for tennis, and it just feels good. And when you're able to cheer your opponents on in the court and be able to yell and vocalize come on Brevard, let's go BC, and everything you do on the court, the team for me, it's really became like a home almost, and a big family in ways.
Similar feelings, Andrew?
Yeah, but it's not just on the court. Off the court, we do a lot of stuff together. We'll go hang out. We have a group chat, and if we want to do something or go eat or something, we'll just be like, hey, anyone want to go eat with us? And it will all just get a big group together and go do things together.
Well, this week, a couple opportunities for fans to see both the men's and women's tennis team. The first one at home, Spartanburg Methodist, here on Thursday at 1 p.m. at the McCoy Tennis Complex. And then anyone who's up for the trip or might be in the area up at Berea, Kentucky, a USA South matchup against Berea Saturday at 1 o'clock. Now, for fans who come out to the tennis match, you'll see it unfold. And then there's that moment where all the matches are done except for one. My question is, have you ever been part of one of those matches where you're the last match going? And if not, what's it like to kind of back to that team mentality, be gathering around and cheering on that final match?
I've been a part of both. Being in the last matches, especially if your team's depending on the win or depending on us, you doing good, it's a really special feeling because for me, I like to have everybody cheering for me and getting loud after I win a point, and if it's a big point especially, and I feel it feels amazing for that when it's like that. And when you're cheering on somebody else, you just want to be as loud as you can and just really make them do better and cheer them on and make them try to pull out a win.
Yeah, the feeling is the same. It's really great when you have everyone watching you and depending on you to pull out the next point, 1 point at a time, and everyone's cheering you on, especially at home when all the fans. We have a lot of students show up to our matches, and it's just a lot of fun with everyone watching you and seeing how you'll play and the decision of the point by point.
Last thing, I always enjoy asking athletes this question. Growing up and now today, is there a superstar tennis player out there who you look up to, who you model your game after, who you like the way he conducts himself? If the three of us were to hang out and watch Wimbledon, who would you all be cheering for?
I like personally Gael Monfils. He has a very interesting play style. He hits a lot of crazy shots, and he's a really cool guy off the court as well.
For me, it's John Isner. Being training in Saddlebrook and then him being from North Carolina or Greensboro, North Carolina. He's massive serve and everything. I just look up to him for some reason.
I like the local connections too. Yeah. Good stuff. Happy you guys are both here at Brevard College, no doubt about it. We'll be out there cheering you guys on and checking out the match on Thursday against Spartanburg Methodist, and then the road trip at Berea. Best of luck at that. Last thing, I ask a lot of guests this question as well, and since both of you are new and from different parts of the country, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you like Brevard so far, and what do you think makes Brevard College and this part of the country so special?
I think it's just, for me, it's just the small environment of everybody being, you can recognize faces on campus and off campus. Like even like the simplest thing, going to Ingles, I can recognize somebody that doesn't go to Brevard College, and it's kind of cool to be in a small environment. Growing up in Florida, where there's millions of people, and it's a different environment. I like it a lot, really.
Yeah, and then there's so many things to do around campus and off campus. You can go mountain biking, fly fishing. Personally, I'm a big fly fisher, so that's what I like to do on my weekends sometimes. And you just get to know everybody instead of only having a few friends. Everyone's your friend, basically.
Have you brought any of your teammates out fly fishing and maybe taught them the ropes there a little bit?
Not yet. There's a lot of trees and stuff. They'll probably get tangled in.
Very good. Well, guys, thanks for joining the show this evening. It's been great to get to know you a little better. Once again, fans, head on out this Thursday on the campus of Brevard College, the McCoy Tennis Complex. You can see these student athletes in action, both men's and women's tennis, against Spartanburg Methodist at 1 p.m. And then you guys hit the road to take on Berea. So best of luck this week and throughout the spring schedule. Appreciate you guys coming on the show, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Great to have Andrew Ingram and Tyler Frazee on the program. Talk a little men's tennis, and want to thank them as well as all of our guests. We had cycling student athletes Hannah Rensman and Dalton Collins. We had cycling head coach Brad Purley and assistant coach Cypress Gorey on the show. And we talked to head football coach Bill Kyatt. Want to thank all of our sponsors: Arby's, Zaxby's, Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, Ingalls, Mission Sports Medicine, Camporium, Pepsi, and the home of Tornado Talk, Dugan's Pub. Hope to see you later this week at a home Brevard College Tornadoes athletic event. There's all sorts of offerings for you beginning tomorrow. Home softball versus Berea. That's a doubleheader that begins at 2 p.m. at Ives Lamel Family Field. So softball tomorrow at 2 p.m. And then Thursday, men's and women's tennis at home against Spartanburg Methodist, 1 p.m. at the McCoy Tennis Complex. Home softball again on Friday, so if you're not able to come on out on Tuesday, come on out Friday as the Tornadoes host Shenandoah. That's a doubleheader that starts at 2 p.m. at Ives Lamel Family Field. And then a 3-game baseball series against Huntington, one of the top teams in the USA South Conference. Friday's game is scheduled for 3 p.m. at Gil Cohen Field. Saturday, 3 p.m. as well. And then Sunday, game 3 of the series, noon at Gil Cohen Field. Keep tuned in to bctornadoes.com, as well as follow BC Tornadoes on both Twitter and Instagram, and be sure to like the Brevard College Athletics Facebook page. If there's any weather adjustments to the schedule, those will be the places you'll see those as soon as any news has broken. And appreciate you once again joining another edition of Tornado Talk. We'll be back here next Monday night, and we're here every Monday night, 7 p.m. at Dugan's Pub. Thanks again for all the guests and for everyone who made tonight's show possible. We'll see you soon. Go Tornadoes.